Hi everyone, today we're going to take a look at this 308 LED video light. Now this comes from a brand, I don't know how to pronounce this, I think it's Neewer. If you know how to pronounce that, just let me know in the comment section down below. Now this is not the cheapest video light out there. It is a little bit pricey, but I feel like it's good value for money. You'll see on the box here that it says from 3,300 to 5,600K, so you can adjust the color temperature. And the way that works, as you can see here, they've got a warm LED, then a cold, then a warm, then a cold in this kind of pattern, this alternating pattern. So although you've got 308 LEDs here, half of them are warm and half of them are cold. And then when you adjust the brightness, or sorry, when you adjust the color temperature, it will turn on different LEDs. And if you set it to, I think, around 4,200K, that's when you'll get all of the LEDs on, and that would be the brightest, obviously. If you set it to very warm or very cold, then you'd only get half of the LEDs on at any one time. But I'll be able to show you that once we turn it on. Now before I do turn it on, let me show you what you get in the box, because you get quite a lot of stuff. It comes with this one already attached. Now this can slide into a hot shoe mount on your camera or a cold shoe mount, and that's the one that I actually use. I just put it straight on top of my camera, screw this down, and it holds in place. But you can also use this handle here, which screws in here, and then you've got, and then you've got yourself a nice bright light on a handle. And then if you don't want that, you've also got this one here, which slots in there, and then I'm not exactly sure what this is for, but you could basically put it on a tripod. But you could also put this one on a tripod. So yeah, anyway, lots of mounting options, but me, I just use this one that comes fitted out of the box. You also get a remote control that lets you control the brightness and the color temperature and turn the lights on and off. For me, I don't need that because there are controls on the back, and because I have this mounted straight on top of my camera, it makes sense for me just to use these. But if you had this mounted on, say, a tripod or in a hard to reach place, this remote control could come in really useful. Now I haven't even tested this remote yet, so we'll be able to test that for the first time here on the video. And of course the last thing that's included are these diffuser panels. You have the white one, the red one, and the blue one. I'm not sure when I'd ever use these blue and red ones because these are like really heavily tinted, but this one I do use, and it actually doesn't make too much difference on the brightness, but it does diffuse the light a little bit. That basically just slides in here at the side. So very easy to put in and take out. And the whole thing really does feel quite sturdy. I wouldn't want to drop it on the floor, but you know, the occasional knock, I think this thing would be okay. Now if you look on the back here, we've got the LCD, we've got power in, and that's from 6.5 volt DC up to 12 volts, so it does have an onboard voltage regulator, and it says up to 3 amp, but I'm guessing that's at the lower voltage, and at 12 volts it would be a lower current. And this is where your battery goes. Now the first thing you'll notice is you cannot put AA batteries in this. It does not come with a battery, and it does not come with a charger, so you have to buy that separately. Now I bought this battery here. It's a Sony style battery. Now this is not branded Sony, this is just a generic, but I think it's the SONY F970 or something like that. It's very easy to find, it's a very standard battery, and this one just pops in there and it locks in, and it does lock in very well, but it's also quite heavy. You can get different sizes of these. You can even buy one of these where it's actually an adapter. The end springs open and then you can just put AA batteries inside, 6 AA batteries, but this one is a lithium ion one. I think it's got 18650 batteries inside. And this is the charger. Now, like I said, I did have to buy these separately. I'm not really happy with the quality of the charger because look, it can just basically fall out. So you have to be very careful where you put this and make sure it doesn't get knocked. But this is the battery that I'll be using. I'll also try put DC input, because one thing I don't know is how many watts this is. And I know some of you, like my regular subscribers, will be thinking, you bought a light without knowing how many watts it is? Because I'm always a little bit strict about when I buy a light, making sure that the wattage really matches what they advertise. But for this one, it had so many great reviews on Amazon that I was willing to, you know, just buy it and assume that it's going to be good. But we will measure how much power it consumes to work out the wattage of this. So let's put the battery in place. And when you turn it on, it does have a memory, so it will remember what you last had it set to. So you can see I had it set to 4200K at 68%. Now let me turn the brightness right down. The minimum you can go to at 4200K is 25%. But if you take the LEDs down, for instance, very warm, you can actually then take the brightness down to 10%. And likewise, if you put it up to very cold, you can then take the brightness down. Now, when it's on 4200K, that's when all of the LEDs are on, and it will only let you put it down to 25%. So let me show you the front of this. Now obviously this is going to kind of blind the camera, but you can see at 4200K you can tell the different temperatures between the LEDs. Let me change it to a warm temperature and then show you. So now you can see that only half of the LEDs are on because it's just the warm LEDs. And if I set it to very cold, you can now see that the other half are on. So that's how you get the different color temperatures. I'm still experimenting with brightness and color temperatures and my camera settings. I'm actually finding it a little bit difficult. I think I'm gonna have to do a lot of experimentation before I find out what actually works right for me and for my camera. And yeah, it's really not a strong point of mine, but it's something I'm gonna work on and improve because I actually have softbox lights. So you might be thinking, well, why do I need this? Because I've got those huge softbox lights. Well, if I shoot in a different room or if I go to someone else's house or anywhere else and shoot a video, it normally comes out kind of grainy because I have poor light. So I wanted something that I can put on the camera itself and carry around with me so that I don't have to drag huge softboxes around with big AC cables and so on. I can just put this on top of my camera and it's bright enough to really do the job for most videos. So let's turn it on and try this remote because literally I have not tried this remote yet. Now it's wireless, it's not infrared, so it doesn't have to point directly at the light. Let's see. So at the moment it's not synced up, so let's try change the brightness. Oh no, so I'm on channel 1 and this is set to channel 5. So I guess I'd either have to change the remote or this. I'll change this because I'd like to put it on channel 1. How do we do this? There we go, channel 1. Okay, so now let's see if this works. Ah, there you go. So it's working. Let's put it up to full brightness. And you can see that as the remote's counting up, this is also counting up. Let's see if we can change the temperature. I'm not sure how to do that from here. There you go. So let's make it warmer. And then let's make it colder. So yeah, that works as expected. Kind of boring, but yeah, the remote does work. I won't be using it, but some people might. Now I'll just quickly show you the other filters in case anyone's interested. And before I do, I'll just set this to 4200K. And I'll turn the brightness down because it will just blind the camera anyway. Okay, so this is the red one. You can see it's very red. I don't honestly know when you'd use that. If you know when you'd use a red light in video work, let me know. Let me show you the blue one as well. So there's the blue one, of course that's very blue. So again, I'm not sure when you would use that, except for like special effects, but maybe there's some other reason. If you know, just let me know in the comment section because I am curious. I do need to learn a lot more about this. Now, like I said, I want to find out how many watts this is. Another thing I want to know is if I put in, say, 12 volts here, will it charge my battery that's connected here? I think it probably won't, but it would be nice if it had a voltage regulator on here, which can also charge your battery while it's plugged into the AC. So we're going to test that as well because I'm very curious to know. Now the way we're going to measure the watts is by running it directly from my power supply. Now this can take up to, or from 6.5 volts up to 12 volts. So I'm going to set it to 7.5 volts, so it's somewhere in the middle. If we set it to 12 volts, it's probably just going to be dropping the voltage a lot anyway. And let's try turn it on. Okay, so we've set it to 4200K so that all of the LEDs are on at once, and then let's put it to 100% brightness. Oops, so did you see what happened there? Something's happened. Okay, it could not go all the way up. You see we've got a battery warning there. So at 7.5 volts it actually can't go to full brightness. Let's increase the voltage up to 12 volts. I was actually expecting that it would have to drop the voltage a lot and that 7 would be more than enough, but let's actually set it to 12. Okay, so 12 volts, turn it on. So at 45%, or let's set it to 50%. At 50%, 4200K, we're consuming 0.76 amp. Let's go all the way to 100%. Oh, it's done it again. See what's happening? The voltage is dropping. It's 12 volts, not enough. That's very, very interesting. I'm going to take this up to, I don't know, say 13 or 14 volts. So I've now got this 12 volt 10 amp power supply. It's going through my DC watt meter and into the light. So if I look at the screen here, or if you look at the screen here, let me zoom in. You can see we're at 12 volts and it's currently drawing 9.2 watts. Now let's try put it up to 100% brightness and see if it can manage it. Okay, so it looks like we're not having any problem with this power supply. We're at 100%, 4200K, and we're consuming 22 watts. So that's what the answer is. It's basically going to be up to 22 watts of light. So pretty bright considering this thing isn't that big. Yeah, it's a little bit big, but it's not huge. That's a lot of light to come from such a small thing. And if anyone's curious, let's put the temperature down to 3300K and then put it all the way down to 10%. And then see what our watt meter says. So 12 volts, 0.27 amp, 3.37 watts. So you could go all the way down to 3.37 watts. And on the warm or the colder temperature, 5600K, 10%, we're looking at pretty much the same, 3.2 watts. So of course you don't need a big power supply like this. You can just use one of those little bricks that plugs into your wall. It's just useful for me to use this for debugging purposes. So there you go, that's how much power this thing can consume. Now the next thing I want to know is whether my battery will be recharged while I have 12 volts going in here. So let's use a multimeter to see what's going on at these pins right now. Okay, so it looks like the voltage coming out here is basically pretty much the same as this. A little bit of loss, but it's pretty much the same. So I guess you'd have to remove your battery while you're running this from AC, otherwise it's going to be feeding 11.5 or 12 volts into your battery, which is not good because these batteries are meant to charge at, if it's 7.4 volts, I think the charge is around 8.2 volts. Let me check what the charger says. 8.4 volts. So yeah, you'd be feeding 12 volts into your battery, which is going to probably damage it. So they should probably put a warning here saying to remove the battery when you're using an AC adapter. Now, of course, what kind of video would this be if I didn't actually put it on the camera and then do some sample shots? So that's what I'm going to do now. I'll mount this on top of my camera pointing down at the table here, and then I'll mess with the settings and we'll see how it comes out. So these are going to be my sample objects. Now this bit's going to be a bit boring. I'm just going to turn the lights on, off, adjust the brightness, the color temperature, etc. So I'm going to ask you now, if you did enjoy this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. So let's go on with the testing. Now right now I don't have any extra lights going on. All I have is my normal room lights, LED bulbs, a few of them, probably around 15 watts total. So let me turn on the video light that we've just been looking at. So that is now at 10%, 5600K. So let me move some stuff around. And my camera is set to automatic, by the way. Now let me turn the light off again. Now I won't know until I actually watch this in editing, but looking at my preview screen here, it does look like the light did make a big difference even at 10%. So let's keep it at 5600K, which is the colder side, and increase the brightness. Now of course my camera is going to be adjusting itself here, so some of you might be thinking, well, I wish you did a manual exposure, but that's going to be too much effort, and you can still tell the difference between the quality. So this is now at 40%. And then I'll just go up to 100% at 5600K. Now I'm not going to do any color correction in editing. I'm just going to leave it default. So whatever the camera captures is exactly what you're going to see in these clips. Of course, you could mess with the colors later in your video editing software. Now let me put it on the warm side, 3300K. So we're now on 3300K, 10%. And let me turn the light off as a comparison. and then back on, and let's go up to 50%. And then lights off as a comparison. And let's go up to 100% with 3300K. And there you go, this is now 100% on the warm side. And as a final comparison, let's take it to 4200K where all of the LEDs are on. So that's 100% with all of the LEDs on at 4200K. You can see that my hands are a little bit overexposed. Again, you could fix that with your camera settings, but I want to leave everything on full auto. This is just to give you a really quick rough idea of what it comes out like. This is way too bright when you're shooting this close. This would be more if you have a big area that you need to fill, but I just wanted to share it anyway, and the camera will try to compensate for this anyway. So that pretty much completes the testing. I hope it gives you an idea of what you can do with this light. If you have any specific requests, like if you want to see it light up an outside area or cars at night or something like that, although this will probably blind cars, so I couldn't do cars that are moving on the road. But if you have any requests, put them in the comment section. You can see right now it's actually a little bit warmer than what I'd probably want, although I could fix that easily in editing later. But this is 4200K, 50%. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.